Hey, this is James from All Hail Internal Combustion. I was out here messing around with the El Camino the other day and started it up and got some tippity tap 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 taparoos coming out of the old motor. And originally we thought it might just be a bunch of exhaust leaks coming off the headers and such, but I started digging around and pulled the oil fill cap off of the valve cover, and there was a rocker arm on there. But there was no push rod. So obviously that good old push rod fell down inside the motor. And we're going to have to pull the intake manifold off to get to it. So that's going to be something we're going to be doing very soon, like today. I also want to get the coolant system drained out, so this is perfect, so I can get these hideous hoses off of here. I got another upper radiator hose coming from Amazon, and I've got heater hoses in stock here in the garage, and I'm going to replace that crappy fuel line too. And I've got a fuel line off the F-150 that takes it down underneath of the carburetor, and it'll poke out towards the front so I can connect that better with a pressure gauge on it. And over on the other side of the motor, I don't have that valve cover off right now, but we found one of the rocker arms to be very loose. So basically I drove this thing 110 miles on 6 cylinders. Hooray. But we're going to start tearing into this. Alright, so the first thing you want to do when you're planning on pulling an intake manifold off is naturally dump your radiator. This is an aftermarket aluminum radiator, so it had the nice little petcock down on the bottom that you can pull all the way out to get rid of it quick. Sometimes on an older radiator you're going to find that petcock is stuck. Don't take the chance of breaking the petcock. Just go ahead and snatch off your lower radiator hose and let it drain out that way, and get some PB Blaster on your original petcock and see if you can get it loosened up. But a lot of times old radiators are kind of weak, and why take the chance of ruining a good radiator by getting all angry with your petcock. Another thing we're going to have to do, since we're pulling the intake, is the distributor is going to have to come out. So I've already started on this side. You can label your spark plug wires if that makes you feel more comfortable. These have them little kooky clips on them that have the numbers, but I'm more like, whatever, I'll figure it out and get it back together. I've been doing this long enough that it's not going to be a problem. And I'm going to go ahead and take the ones off on the other side. Then I'll start to take all these nasty hoses off of here and get the top of the engine more accessible. I'm also going to have to pull the alternator. I mean, I could set it off to the side, but I put a different alternator on here that doesn't work. So that upper alternator bracket's going to have to come off. I might as well just get the alternator out of my way at the same time. Then I'm going to be pulling the carburetor off. I've already unhooked my accelerator linkage and took the spring out of the way. So I got to gather up some more tools and be back. Alright, so I went to undid my other spark plug wires and took the distributor cap and the wires out of the way, because of course the distributor is going to have to come out. When I got the cap off, drove 110 miles with that rotor being all floppy sloppy like that. So yeah, great, more stuff. I'm going to go ahead and yank the distributor out of this thing. Normally if you're just taking your distributor out and you're going to drop it right back in, you want to mark where your rotor position is. But I'm going to be turning the crankshaft over on this thing, so I'm just going to set it to top dead center when I put it all back together and do my timing that way. So I'm not going to mark this. I'm just going to snatch the bolt out of it and go ahead and pop the distributor on out of here, and then I'll go ahead and get to the carburetor. Alright, so I got the distributor out of it, and Junior's gonna pull the carb off of it. And then I'm gonna get these heater hoses undone. I'm telling you guys, a word of advice from an old angry white guy. Never, ever, 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 ever put these hoses on your car. There's little bands in them that broke, so basically if you go to yank on these things, you will bloody your hands. Just use a rubber hose. Nothing wrong with it. I still gotta undo that one.
Pretty much all the clamps on those are broken.
Yeah, and every single clamp that got pulled off of these, like Spectre lines or whatever crappy company it was, all the little bolts have wound out of them. I mean,
they're really small clamps actually for what you would normally use. Like, that's a small duty clamp considering what you would normally use. I mean, they're just covers. They're rubber hoses in there. They're just...
Yeah, it's just a braided cover that everybody used to buy back in the day because they thought it looked oh so great, and actually it's just really not a good idea.
Well, at least not with current quality of products.
And I mean, it might be okay if you're building a show car that rides on a trailer everywhere, but on a street car in a somewhat humid area, as you can see, these things just look like crap, and it's a shame because it was a waste of money for somebody. And now they're going to end up in a garbage can. Yeah, see, them bad boys are sharp. And we're going to go ahead and disconnect them off the firewall gently. Hopefully they don't stick to the heater core, because I would rather not have my heater core broken.
Well, they're already loose, so the clamps...
And we're going to get all this stuff out of the way, pull the alternator the rest of the way out. Because this alternator, I put it on here to test it, and it's testing as bad, so I might take the guts out of that crappy chrome alternator and drop them into this, because this is just a regular General Motors 10SI alternator.
That's where I put on my Lamage.
And see if I can fix it that way. If not, I'll buy another alternator. You know, it is what it is. And I need to go grab a wrench for...
What do you do? I have the rack wrenches.
I need a booby for the dumb alternator bolt. Which is probably some completely kooky size. It makes no sense at all. It's probably 7/16.
It actually does look like a 7/16. I'm just have to cut this to get it off, because I'm not going to get it off without breaking shit if I don't use pliers on the hose itself. So I'm just going to cut this off. Hey buddy, you got on that battery. Unhook the battery. Snap! You guys got to be careful when you do, if you're holding positive battery terminal and the end of this positive, you'll complete the loop and shock yourself.
Worst invention of the 1970s was the side post battery.
Horrible. Yeah, I suggest if you own anything with a side post, you immediately try to convert it to top post.
I mean, they did it back in the day to try and get people a little more, so they could lower the stupid hood line.
They should have just put it in the trunk. Maybe you should just unhook the negative. Oh, got it. Yeah!
All that's getting replaced. It's getting new battery leads and all that happy crap. So, we're going to go ahead and get that heater hose off of there and move on to the next thing.
The moment of truth. The moment that you've all been waiting for. Or did I find another bolt that's somehow mysteriously holding the intake down? I did. What's this bolt back here? That's a weird
That
one.
bolt's supposed to go to the oil pressure sensor.
Oh, well, I think...
Oh, so now somebody jammed a bolt in the oil pressure sensor.
Okay.
That's...
Let's see if we can get the intake out from under there, huh? Oh.
And let's see. Hey, there's our push rod. Bent to crap. Oh, and it's broke, dude. Oh, my.
Broke.
Yeah. The push rod is broken. That's lovely.
So where's the other piece?
Probably down in the oil pan. That's okay, though. It'll be just fine down there. There's a piece of crap right there. Yeah, so for some reason this thing bent a rod and it got snapped off somehow. I have no idea how that happened.
Wonder how that valve guide looks.
And found out the let me take you down here and show you because I can't even see it. But
Let's get a light in there. Hold it there.
there's a bolt broken off in the end of the crankshaft too.
Yay! We love that.
Yeah, so that's like engine building at its finest. And then somebody jammed a bolt into the oil pressure sender that we have to try and get out and figure out how screwed up those threads are, because I do kind of like to know what my oil pressure is every once in a while.
Does that mean the gauge that we thought was reading us our oil pressure the whole time was actually
That was a
not...
temperature gauge.
Oh, yeah, we only
This
have the
car doesn't
temperature.
have an oil pressure gauge, so I'm kind of wondering if that ain't telling me something too. Try and pull that bolt out of there.
Oh, well, remember we gotta see what's going on with this. I think that it kind of looks like that stud pulled out, maybe. I don't know.
Now it looks even with the other ones.
Let's see what we got here.
And
I think we're okay.
well, I think that's supposed to be a fine threaded hole. So we might not be okay. But you know, plenty of RTV, that's always a good sign, especially orange. It's like, wow, orange RTV. And let's use 94 pounds of it. Because, my God, you can't get it sealed enough, can you? Alright, so...
You want to spin the... Oh, I was going to ask if you wanted to spin the motor over, but we don't have a crankshaft bolt. Oh, we could just... Why don't we just bump it over with the... Well, just bump it over. Watch everything move.
I mean, yeah, we can. We should probably pull the spark plugs out. We're going to yank all the plugs out of this thing. And
make sure it's easier for it.
what I want to do is I want to double check to make sure that this cam lobe isn't completely wiped out, because that would just mean this motor's coming out of the car. And I'm already half tempted to take the motor out of the car, considering some of the shit that I've seen so far. Excuse my language. But yeah, we're going to yank the spark plugs out and spin this thing over and see what happens. Alright, so as you can see, things got a little out of control, as things usually tend to do when you're going back in and fixing major screw-ups. So we pulled the radiator out of it. This thing had a AC condenser in there, and
We don't do AC.
AC's for wimps. You know, I understand some people gotta have it because they can't breathe and crap, but I ain't one of them people yet. So there's our broke off crankshaft bolt that I gotta freaking deal with. And I'm going to try and get in there with a punch and just tap it on one side and see if I can't get it to spin out. But the way I see it, at least the crankshaft isn't broken. I've seen them break before when people ran the bolts in. And I'm pretty sure what happened here was somebody went to put a balancer or damper or the pulley on it finally, and forgot they didn't have the washer on there, and it bottomed out and they snapped the bolt off, most likely using an impact. Because, yeah, that's how you're supposed to put harmonic balancers on cars with a friggin' impact.
We took it off with one though.
We did go through and we cranked the engine and checked the cam to make sure that our lifter wasn't wiped out on that cylinder. And as you can see, she's sitting as high as the other ones were.
And the cup in this lifter was also cracked over to the side, and that was the one that was super loose. So
yeah, so we got that lifter squared away. This one's lifting up, and when we ran the engine through, all the push rod or all the lifters appear to come up about the same amount. So I'm happy that we don't have a wiped out cam in this thing.
what are we gonna do? A compression check and
Yeah,
a leak down check on that cylinder back there.
on the next time we come back, we're going to do a leak down test on that one cylinder that the push rod bent on to make sure I don't have a bent valve, because this thing does have the crappy 624 heads on it, and everybody knows these things suck. These are the lightweight General Motors heads that they came out with in 1975 that are prone to cracking and prone to failure and all that happy crap. So
Look, Daddy, I polished the chrome.
yeah, it's going to be the next thing goes in the garbage right there when I get another water pump for it. But we de-chromed the engine. Everything's laying out back in the scrap pile exactly where it belongs.
Except for this. We'll keep the
I'm keeping that Edelbrock fuel pump.
You can probably pick up a rebuild kit for it.
But that's going to wrap up this particular video on diagnosing why this thing was making a ticking noise. And boy, we sure found out why.
Multiples. I think we should pull the timing cover off eventually just to make sure everything's okay. With the tomfoolery we already
pull
found.
that off anyway because it's chrome and that's going in the trash can too. But yeah, that's where we're going to leave it at for now. Oh good, it's not a chrome oil pan. Oh, don't want to have to throw one of them away. But that's where we're going to leave off with this video for right now. So we will see you next time on the El Camino that's slowly starting to eat my soul.
And one other thing, if you guys want to see a free Rusty Chrome giveaway, just give us a shout out in the comments.
But like and subscribe, because Lord knows we're going to be standing on the corner to make money to get parts for this thing.
Yeah,
but,
we really need you to.
See y'all next time, and have a great weekend. All hail internal combustion, for what it's worth.